Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Island Empire podcast. My name is Jason. Last year, I decided to keep a promise to myself, kind of a personal dare, and start this podcast. What my expectations were and how over the last 12 months, what the experience have been for me personally. Founding ideas behind the podcast have been this idea of Brahmacharya or celibacy, as it appears in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, an ancient Sanskrit text, which was written about 300 BC in ancient India. And as I have shared before, September 2019, I started to properly read the actual text of the Yoga Sutra and understand some of the philosophical, some of the distilled pure essence of the Hindu thought is found in this foundational text, Yoga Sutras. And in one of the key passages of the text is Brahmacharya pratishtayam Virility. By the practice of Brahmacharya, power is attained. I wanted to trial this out, right? And I wanted to see if I could step away from some of the more destructive personal habits and ways of thinking, limiting beliefs. And there was this sense of there has to be something more. There has to be more than just getting ahead of the corporate race. And then this whole series of life-changing events happened, including a separation from a long-term relationship and a career change, and of course the pandemic hit very recently as well, which have been a series of very quick, rapid changes. Right? So this is the backdrop of this whole beginnings of this whole podcast experience for me. Anyway, coming back to the Sanskrit text, by the practice of cultivating and transmuting sexual energy, or virya as it's known called in Sanskrit, which is, by the way, the same Latin word. Vir is where the word virility comes from. The society that we live in, mobile phones, Internet of Things. Essentially, we're kind of harvesting dopamine. That red notification that you get on Instagram that gives you this rush of dopamine, which is addictive. And of course, goes without saying, reality TV, pornography, and hypersexualized music, entertainment industry, all of these things are surrounding us constantly, right? And yet, our bodies are still 100,000 years old. You know, we left Africa just like this. We're still in the same body, right? Back in those days, rewarding system in the body meant completing a successful hunt in the savannah and bringing home the hunt to the village and sharing this. These kind of labor-consuming, time-intensive sort of achievements was what our bodies have been made for, right? But in our modern society, all that is taken away, or at least the connection to nature has been taken away. Now we're kind of immersed in this augmented digital reality. I remember distinctly after I started practicing this whole set of positive habits, waking up early in the morning, train the first thing, running, cold shower, and then just literally just stepping into that achieving, goal chasing, task completing, checkbox checking mindset. This was truly revolutionary for me. Having practiced this for some good 2 years, my first experience was, again, what many other men on YouTube share, this elevated sense of energy, like physical energy. It's a very physical thing. Increased alertness, clarity of mind. Add on top of that cold showers, which primes your body to this present moment in a very real way. Combine that with pranayama practices of breathing, meditation, Combine that with physical exercise, yoga, giving the first hour of the day to yourself, like as one of the earliest things I learned from this practice. When you begin to prioritize yourself, when you begin to add value to yourself on your physical front, on your emotional life, in your relationship world, in your financial realm, there's a sense of being in control of yourself and not being worried about things that you can't control. Very stoic. Outside events, I notice that they have less and less control. They have less and less power over me. Nowadays, like Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic philosopher, Roman emperor, said that you should be able to not be moved by outside events. If you can own your inner space, that is true success. That is a sign of a truly accomplished or truly harmonious human being. Like Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, chapter 11 of this book is a gem. If you have read this already, read this again in this light of Brahmacharya, Pratistham, Virility, the cultivation and transmutation of vital energy, and this thing will make sense to you. Go check it out. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And Friedrich Nietzsche, I started rereading Nietzsche. His ideas of aspiration, the whole imagery of the snake and the eagle, and this exemplifies or expounds the idea of taking vital physical sexual energy and cultivating it by getting into physical discipline, by eating healthy, quitting some destructive self-habits and replacing them with positive ones, and meditation, creative pursuits, learning new things, learning new ideas, and engaging with the world in a more alert, self-aware kind of a state. Speaking of Carl Jung, this whole idea of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, most of our life is an expression of the subconscious mind, like things that we fear, things that we desire, things that we aspire to. These things seem to drive more than our day-to-day office-going, tax-paying, commuting to work, alert mindset or state of mind. When you begin to make the unconscious mind conscious, this is when you begin to find your true self. This is when you begin to, his own words, self-actualization or individuation. Practicing Brahmacharya, along with meditation, along with physical discipline, I've come to a more engaging way of being with the world. I've come to a more alert state of being. I've come to a more compassionate state of being. Things that used to bug me before, they don't anymore. And coming into a place of more responsibility and ownership of myself and not be bothered too much. I spoke this idea about rapid self-transformation in one of the episodes. Now, this again was one of those ideas I consumed during this last 2 years and wanted to really test out. Along with this whole self-transformation or the second birth, the idea that Jesus spoke in the Bible. Take time and peel all these layers that you've put on yourself, your degrees, your career achievements, your relationships that you had in the past. And what are you really if you were to take away all of that? So this kind of shadow work, this kind of subconscious level work is possible, and Brahmacharya practice definitely gives an extra tiger-like energy to do these kind of work. So what were some of the challenging aspects of practicing Brahmacharya? There is this sense of impatience. I became very, very impatient, short fuse. You've become a little more direct, sometimes too direct in your communication, and that can be hurtful and that can be damaging. not just to the people around you, but to yourself as well. So that is one thing I had to really watch out for, and just try and balance that out with meditation or some other pursuit of creative, gentler nature. We're constantly bombarded with this stream of non-stop information being thrown at us. We're just literally just drowning in information right now, right? In this kind of a world, it's challenging to disengage from screens and connect with nature. Understanding these things about manifestation and law of attraction and all of this stuff. My take on that, I'm a little bit more conservative now, I would say. I would say rather than law of attraction, it's more have been about law of action. I remember just going to do the lawns in some of the properties out west. I remember just saying this out to myself: take the next step, take the next step. This is what this practice taught me in the last 2 years. It's more about taking action. It's more about being decisive. And obviously, I'm not saying I'm crushing it at the moment. Of course, I'm still sort of processing some of these major changes of life that happened over the last 2 years. Just settling into this beautiful neighborhood, just setting up the studio, just getting back into the creative flow, writing stuff again, listening to music again. I've been on Tinariwen like the whole time this week, man, honestly. And my flatmate caught onto this music as well. If you haven't checked out Tinariwen, the Malian blues music, you need to ASAP. This goes without saying, flowing into the relationship area. Obviously, your sexual life, your relational life. For the most part of the last 2 years, I have been celibate, but I started dating again just after last year's lockdown started easing off here in New Zealand. It was immediately obvious when I started going back into the dating scene. Before, it's always about just chasing the person that you want to get into a relationship, and this time around, it's been different. It's more about being at a comfortable place, being comfortable in your own skin. It's the moment a woman sees a person who is comfortable in their own skin, who's not a jerk, who's looking after himself, they are going to want to get to know you at least, right? Conversations can happen, okay? Women sense these things in a primal way, guys, okay? And obviously now I'm seeing one person exclusively. And again, it's been a blessing. I have been able to talk to her properly about the practice, and she has been very, very supportive about this as well, which I'm obviously, again, blessed with. But I have heard some other men say, hey, it is a bit of a challenge to communicate about this non-releasing business, because sometimes the female can feel like it is something that's negative on her part. So it's on us, guys. We need to communicate to our partners saying, hey, listen, this is about developing myself. This is about coming into a place of sharpness. This is about coming to a place of respect to myself. And please, join in on this conversation. What has been your experience? If you haven't talked about, if you haven't looked into this whole concept of Brahmacharya, or semen retention, it's called in the YouTube world, check it out. Especially if you're Sri Lankan. This is something that I would like to challenge every Sri Lankan male, especially if you're Sinhalese. Man, give this one a go, right? Try this for 10 days. Try this for 20 days. Get into this and let me know what you think, what you experience. So far, I have had, like I say, many approach me on Instagram, on YouTube, in people's comments, that this is something that they have tried within days, that they could feel different, right? So give this a go and let me know. Happy Friday. One other thing that I have been sort of looking into have been this whole historical reasons why the Sri Lankan culture is the way it is. and what are some of the challenges that we face as a nation, and why are we the way we are. Again, I'm a Kiwi Sri Lankan, right? So I live here, and this is my perspective of that, and a lot of that come from my own personal experiences, as well as just studying and reading about my own culture. And for example, the Dutch Ceylon period episode, this by far is my own favorite episode, because when I started recording this, I knew very little about the Dutch Ceylon period. I knew more about the Portuguese Ceylon period because of the music, because of Baila and Cafrinha. I knew stuff about it, okay? But about the Dutch Ceylon period, I didn't really know that much. So when I actually did the research, I was intrigued by it. And sure enough, this has been that episode that a lot of people have actually had views on and commented as well. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. And if you are of Dutch Ceylonese burger descent as well, please let me know. Let me know where you're from. Many of you guys, wonderful folk, have said hello to me again through these videos. So I really appreciate the love. So go ahead, let me know. Professor Epeli Hau'ofa, anthropologist, Pacific mystic, who said, we need to start thinking like the ocean. And as a Sri Lankan, as a Sinhalese, this is what I would say to my folks as well, to myself first as well, that we need to think like the ocean. We need to stop thinking like the smallness of the island that we live on, and realize that the trade routes from China to the Middle East cross our lands. And we need to wake up to the fact that this region is going to be the main theater in world politics, world economy in the decades to come. We need to wake up to this. I don't think we can look to our political class anymore for inspiration. We can no longer look to our political elites to give us the vision. We need to step out of this island mentality and think like the ocean. This was one of the founding ideas. I want to continue on that theme and talk to some wiser heads, that's right, guests and interviews about how they perceive their future is. As we go into the future, climate change is an issue that we face as island nations. And how can we talk about this? How can we approach that problem? And how can we come into a alert, more self-aware, more conscious state of being that promotes this awareness to address the issues that are relevant to us as island people around the world. Whereabouts are you watching this from? Are you from the Pacific? Are you from the Indian Ocean Islands? Are you from the Caribbean? So let us know. Drop a comment. Talk to us and let us know how you guys think. What are you thinking about your political establishments and how they're leading the destiny of your country, of your island? Let us know. I don't follow a particular religion at all myself, but I have practiced many religions over the years. I was obviously born into Sri Lankan Sinhalese Buddhist central Sri Lanka, and I practiced Christianity, both Roman Catholic and Evangelical Christianity. I was in the worship team right here in Auckland, one of the larger churches in West Auckland, and I was drawn into Sufism while I was listening to the famous Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. And more recently, following the footsteps of my father, I was enamored with the Sikh devotional practice, which I have been blessed. Again, one of the best things happened in the recent history of my life. Having said that, I still don't consider myself to be just practicing one particular faith or an idea or a political ideology for that matter. So, from that kind of a place, I want to address or share what my experience have been with these different religions that I've followed over the years and learned and in depth. For example, I've read the entire Bible from cover to cover in 2 languages. And I was able to quote the Bible for many, many years. I'm not that good anymore, but there we have it. So that's another serious idea that I want to talk about. And it will be very, very cool for you guys to just jump in the conversation and share what you think about religion. It is springtime here in the Southern Hemisphere. days are getting longer and people are more out and about. And I want to talk to creative people, because I think with any other cultural engineering project or any other thing that mattered to us, any other step towards progress, always requires the poets, the mystics, the shamans, the dancers, the musicians. These are the people who usually lead the charge, who inspire, who guide, who critique. We need them. And it's been a very encouraging couple of years while I was practicing Brahmacharya and getting into yoga and whatnot, to observe right here in Auckland how the younger Kiwi Sri Lankan community has been coming up in various creative projects and various community initiatives. And I want to bring them in and have a yarn about what they do and what they think about what thinking like the ocean is. Again, many thanks for supporting the channel. Like I said, exactly a year ago, on 8th of August 2020, we launched the podcast. This has been one heck of a journey for myself. And again, I'm happy to report from Auckland's beautiful St. Heliers that I made through this, and I put some of the shadowy aspects of my own personal life behind, and I was able to get into this awesome spot from which we will broadcast out into the world. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share if you like, drop a comment, let me know what you think. And here we go, Island Empire, episode 10.